Alright, well, on this channel we have ranked one season wonders. We have made multiple videos about that, and I continue to see comments asking me to do the exact same style of video, but for mythic weapons only. And that is exactly what we're going to review today, guys. We are going to go over some of Fortnite's best mythic items that were only featured in one Fortnite season. And a list like this was incredibly difficult to make just because the majority of mythic weapons never come back. They only get featured one time. So if you'd like to see me make a part 2 to this video, let me know in the comments section below because I can totally do that. If you guys went on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like and use code TYFRYZ in the Fortnite item shop. Thank you to everybody who already has. You guys are insane. With all that being said, let's get right into this. And I guess I should preface this at the beginning, right? A lot of these weapons are going to be some of the best weapons we've ever seen, and they were only in the game for a season because they're just too broken to ever bring back. And that is 100% absolutely the case with the Overclock Pulse rifle from Chapter 4 Season 2. And just a hint, this is not the only weapon or item we will see from Chapter 4 Season 2 on this list. This season was absolutely loaded with super strong items. I mean, right off the top of my head, the katana, the havoc pump shotgun, and you can absolutely throw the Overclock Pulse rifle in that list. I mean, what a weapon. I mean, there is an argument here, in my opinion, to call it the best weapon that has ever graced the game. You get this like infinite first shot accuracy, like there's no bloom at all. So as long as you have good aim from 100, 200 meters away, you can hit anybody. It did just unreal damage, right? With 38 damage when you're scoped, that's a DPS of like 235. That is almost unbeatable, almost the highest DPS of all time. And then you just pull it out in a box and use it like an SMG or even a shotgun because the fire rate from the hip was incredibly fast. It's just a crazy beefed up version of the regular pulse rifle. You guys will see it in the gameplay. Absolutely unreal. If you didn't get to use this thing, I really do feel sorry for you. It was unbeatable. It was like an instant win. Next, and this is kind of a tough one to explain here, so I'll make it quick. It's Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet from Season 4. I was really debating on whether I should put this on this list. I mean, was it an LTM exclusive? Technically, no, it was in the Battle Royale, which is a limited time mashup. So technically, it is eligible to be on this list. But with that being said, this item was made with literally zero intent for it to be balanced. It was meant to be broken. It absolutely was. It was, I mean, when I say guaranteed win, literally a guaranteed win. You had like the beam effect. You could jump in the air. You had the smash effect. You would regain all your health and shield after you killed somebody with it. You guys all know how this thing works. I mean, we've all seen the clips of it. It's one of the core aspects of like the old game of Fortnite. So yeah, I mean, if you want to count it on this list, it absolutely should be here. And honestly, just mimic everything I just said for the Infinity Gauntlet, but add it to the Infinity Blade. This is just one of those weapons that I'm literally speechless when I try to explain it. I remember playing with this thing and it was just like the talk of the game. Everybody was landing polar peaks to try and get their hands on the Infinity Blade. And not only was this only in the game for one season, it was only in the game for 1 week. Of course, excluding the different LTMs where this thing can be found, and we're only talking about Battle Royale. In that case, it was only in the game for 1 week. And the devs decided to be absolute geniuses and release this the day before the, I believe it was the Winter Royale tournament. And yeah, that thing was in competitive in a super high tier, high money tournament, and it ran it, right? I believe it was Sam who had it, and you just know what I'm talking about when you'll see it. He just jumping everywhere, slinging through everyone's box. It's hard to believe that this thing actually existed in a Battle Royale lobby, but it did. So yeah, it'll be on this list. Next, let's talk about a super recent mythic, actually. That's Nisha Striker AR from Chapter 5 Season 1. I feel like a couple of the Chapter 5 Season 1 mythics have gone forgotten about, and I would probably put this weapon in that same category. And look, everybody glazes the Overclock Pulse rifle for being just this absolutely broken, had to have it insane weapon, and while that is true at a DPS of 237, Nisha Striker AR had a DPS of 235. So in that sense, in terms of damage, all that stuff, they are very similar weapons. And that should just speak to how good Nisha Striker AR was. If you had asked me when Chapter 5 Season 1 was out, if I thought that this was a top tier mythic, I would say not really. But there truly are a handful of weapons that are in that like 230 to 240 DPS range. That's when you start to get to borderline overpowered, right? And I always thought that the regular Striker AR was really strong. So to get a mythic version with that beautiful red dot sight, that suppressor, the grip on it, everything just felt so nice. It had literally no recoil. I really don't have a ton of complaints on this weapon, right? For me, I thought that it was going to be a no-brainer to be on here when I was going through the list of mythic items that have only been in one season. But I mean, let me know in the comment section below. Did you guys expect Nisha Striker AR to be here? And previously in the video, I had talked about about Chapter 4 Season 2 saying that there would be another item from that season on this list. Well, here it is, one of the community's, I would say, favorite items that have ever been in this game. It is ODM gear. An absolutely incredible top-tier mobility weapon. There is no arguing that. And I guess when I got the idea to make this video, I would say ODM gear was actually the first item that I thought about, right? It just sticks out as being only in one season, part of the whole like anime collaboration stuff, right? That was such a big deal in Chapter 4 Season 2. You know, it's kind of hard to continue to explain these items over and over again because I really can't help but just say the same thing about them. They are all top tier weapons or items. They're all at the top of their class. They absolutely dominate the game. And honestly, pre-ODM gear, I thought that the SpiderMan Web Shooters were a lock for being the best mobility item of all time, but I do think that ODM gear gives it a serious argument. You not only get this like absolutely incredible mobility, you also get that attack effect, and then it gives you that like little shockwave float effect. So if you want to use the thunder spears too, it absolutely worked perfectly together. I just love how it felt, right? You felt smooth, you felt good flying through the air using the attack ability. I honestly don't have a ton to complain about. In my opinion, it was a no-doubter to be on this list, one of the best mythic items ever to only be featured in one season. And here we go, Chapter 2 Season 2. You knew there had to be at least one on here, and I'm gonna go with Brutuss Minigun. And I'll be entirely honest with you guys, this was one of those weapons that it's hard for me to explain how broken it was. It's one of those things where it's like, if you were there, you understand what I'm talking about. I believe it actually did the same amount of damage as the legendary minigun. That doesn't take anything away from how strong it is. I guess that just means the legendary minigun is so strong as well. I think the thing for me that makes Brutuss Minigun stick out from some of the other miniguns we've seen, or even the new one that has just come back into the game, is really the bullet spread, right? It's so tight to the fact where you could use it as an assault rifle, because with the normal minigun, you know that the bullets go everywhere, right? That's just how it is. But with Brutuss Minigun, especially if you crouch, you can use it at assault rifle range, 60, 70, 80 meters, or it fires so fast that you just jump into somebody's box and laser them. I will say aim assist, particularly in Chapter 2 Season 2, absolutely helped this thing out, because if you played that season, you know the spray meta was in full force, especially on controller, right? Because aim assist was so strong. People were using SMGs, MYTHIC's drum gun, and this weapon. With that being said, though, I do still think if you took Brutuss Minigun and put it in 90% of other seasons, it would probably be the best weapon that season. So to me, again, this is another weapon that felt like an absolute lock to be here. But let me know in the comment section what you think. And I guess I'll surprise you guys here by throwing in a second weapon from Chapter 2 Season 2. That is Sky's assault rifle. I mean, there were really 4 choices to pick from Chapter 2 Season 2. It was Brutuss Minigun, Sky's assault rifle, and I guess technically her grappler, you could consider that one as well, Meowscles pew pew rifle, and Deadpool's dual hand cannons. But to me, Brutuss Minigun and Sky's assault rifle specifically just absolutely stand out from the rest. I have to remember like how revolutionary this weapon was when it came out. I mean, think about it. For years and years, the Scar was like the pinnacle of Fortnite weapons, especially of Fortnite assault rifles. The Scar was the best that you were going to get for seasons and seasons on end. Now, that's not the case. The Scar kind of sucks, particularly in Chapter 4. But they decided to go one up and make the best assault rifle in Fortnite history even better in Chapter 2 Season 2 with Sky's assault rifle. To me, it's no surprise why this thing was so good. I mean, they gave, again, the best assault rifle increased damage, and they gave it an increased fire rate, 2 of the most important statistics when it comes to kind of grading how good weapons are. So you combine a higher fire rate and higher damage, you're just going to get an insane weapon, and that's exactly what you got here. I actually think Sky's assault rifle is a sleeper for being the best mythic in Chapter 2 Season 2. You could absolutely make that argument. Next, if you guys watch my most buffed weapons series, or a little mini series I did on this channel, you would know that Waterbending was on it, and it went from being one of the worst weapons of all time to one of the best, and for that reason, it is definitely on this list. Simply put, I know all these weapons are some of the best mythics of all time, but this may be the best. And it's actually kind of crazy because, first of all, I think out of all the Avatar mythics, it is absolutely the best. I mean, I think you could make an argument, I guess, for airbending, but again, it is crazy how this thing went from being pretty bad, honestly. It was really mid, not used a ton, to just top of the food chain. I mean, I remember for myself, I was using this thing like it was an assault rifle, like it was an SMG. I would just run this thing, a shotgun, and a sniper, mobility, heals. That's all you needed. Of course, the Avatar mythics were introduced in Chapter 5 Season 2, and just like a lot of other collaboration items, were vaulted shortly after in Chapter 5 Season 3. And I'll be entirely honest with you guys here, I think that Waterbending was reaching like Chapter 5 Season 1 Reaper sniper rifle levels of like broken. Like how the Reaper sniper rifle absolutely plagued Chapter 5 Season 1, I think you could say the same thing about Waterbending. From the time that this thing was in the game to the time that it was removed, it was like the go-to item. It almost felt like you either had waterbending and you were competing, or you didn't have waterbending and you were not going to win the game. I honestly hope it never comes back, to be honest with you. I love Avatar. I love the IP. I loved how fun the weapons were, but they absolutely ruined the game, in my opinion, for that end of Chapter 5 Season 2. And the final item on this list, I hinted at it a little bit before about being one of the best mobility items. It's SpiderMan's Web Shooters. And I guess if you wanted to get really nitpicky here, the Spider-Verse Web Shooters, which came out in a different season, are basically the exact same thing. So technically, I guess you could say it has come back in a sense. But I don't know. When I think about SpiderMan Web Shooters, I specifically think about the Chapter 3 Season 1 version that was only featured in that entry season in Chapter 3. I think when this thing came out, it was basically the unanimous opinion of everybody that, yeah, this was the best mobility item ever. Of course, once ODM gear came out, something like the Kinetic Blade, there's a little bit more of an argument to be made. But just besides like talking about what is the best weapon, this is one of the most fun weapons. I mean, think about it. You get to glide through the air with incredible range. You just fly, your FOV gets all zoomed out. You literally feel like you can't be touched. Like you're literally flying through the air as one of the most iconic superheroes in the entire world. It's just so cool to think about, right? I mean, if you had the Spider-Man skin, you landed the Daily Bugle, and you got the Spider-Man Web Shooters, you really felt like, honestly, you were playing a Spider-Man game. Like you weren't playing Fortnite, and that's a good thing, right? It just goes to show how good like the actual physics were on the actual item, how it would work. I mean, it felt unique, right? And that's not something that we entirely get with Fortnite nowadays. It feels like a lot of reused assets. But I mean, you had so many uses on this thing. The only downside I would say is that if you get shot midair, you will take fall damage. You can't use them again. So if you are going to be high in the air, you get shot once, you're instant dead. But with how fast you could just zip between trees, go from build to build to build, from tree to tree, from building to building, it was incredible. This is an item that I would absolutely be all for it to come back. While yes, it did really hurt third partying. Third partying was kind of a disaster with this season, mainly due to the Spider-Man Web Shooters. I can stomach a little bit of third partying just to get the opportunity to use this item again. All right, guys. Well, that was part 1 to this video, revisiting some of Fortnite's best mythic one season wonders. If you haven't seen the mini series of just regular one season wonders, go check that out. And if you would like to see a part 2 to this video, let me know, because there are a ton more mythics that could have been in this video, but I just didn't have the room for it. If you guys went on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.